Let's cross to the Chagos Islands now, as a dramatic late intervention by a judge has thrown Sir Keir Starmer's plans to hand over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius further into chaos. The islanders have won a legal battle against eviction orders issued by the Labour government, and now Donald Trump has withdrawn his support for the Chagos deal after the Prime Minister reportedly blocks the US President from using RAF bases on British soil and overseas to launch strikes against Iran. So the pressure is now truly continuing to mount on Keir Starmer to reverse handling over the Chagos Islands. What's one more U-turn amongst friends? Is the deal dead? Well, Olivia Utley, let's get some reaction from you, and also delighted to be joined by the former British Army spokesperson, Major Mike Shearer. Major Mike, a pleasure. Olivia, let's start with you. The special relationship is significantly under strain over this dilemma. Donald Trump is amassing a huge arsenal by air, by sea, by land against Iran's an impending strike expected perhaps within days. Central to that is the international cooperation, the special relationship. RAF bases have always been on the table. Why aren't they in this case? And could that cost the Labour government the Chagos Islands?
Well, you asked some really interesting questions there, Martin. Essentially, what Donald Trump has said is that it is not acceptable for Tehran to have a nuclear weapon. He says that if America and Tehran can't come to a deal over this in the next few days, he talks about 10 days, then there will be strikes on Iran. Some people are suggesting that those strikes could come much sooner, in fact, as soon as tomorrow. Now, Donald Trump would like to use two RAF bases, one in the UK, RAF Fairfield, and one in Diego Garcia on the Chagos Islands to launch these particular type of bombers. Now, these bombers were very successful in the military campaign in June against Tehran, and they would be able to reach Iran in a matter of hours, which would be obviously much, much better than having to launch these bombers from America, which would take a lot longer. So Donald Trump really, really wants to use both Diego Garcia and RAF Fairfield. Now, at the moment, Keir Starmer is saying that no, he cannot do that. And Donald Trump does have to seek the permission of the United Kingdom in order to launch bombers from RAF bases. So if Keir Starmer holds out against this, then Keir Starmer is going to have to use, Donald Trump is going to have to use some sort of contingency plans, long-range missiles, etc. That has really, really angered the US president, and he's now saying that he won't let the UK sign over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. It'd be really interesting to see where this ends up.
Another potential faux pas from Sir Keir Starmer. Before I bring in Major Mike Shearer, let's get a map on the screen of the significance, the geopolitical significance of the Chagos Islands. It sincerely is in the sweet spot of triangulation. Look at that, 2,400 miles to the south of Iran. It's a key triangulation point between the UK, between Europe, between bases in Iraq, and key to the point, way out of range of any attempt of counterstrike from Iran. Suddenly, Major Mike Shearer, that little island, Diego Garcia, minding its business for decades, is absolutely key and strategic. And Sir Keir Starmer may have put that back towards Donald Trump.
It always has been. It's not just now that it has become a strategic necessity for the United Kingdom and indeed the United States. It has always been. Few people have known it was there until it came into prominence. But military people have always been aware of its strategic requirement. And I'm afraid our Prime Minister is yet again being delinquent in responsibility. Why on earth would you not join in with your chief ally and help out? And let's not forget, Iran is an existential threat, not only to the region, but to the world. Their main aim at the minute, Iran that is to kill Israel off. They won't stop there. After that, it will be every other Muslim that isn't like them. And after that, maybe flip on the priority there, it will be everybody else.
And it could well be actually coming to British soil. A key question, Major Mike Shearer, why? Why would Sir Keir Starmer decide not to help our oldest and closest ally? Help me understand that.
I can't. The man, as I said a moment ago, he is delinquent of his politic nous. There is no real reason why he will cite some international law, which he's not very good at, it would appear. I mean, if you look at what's going on in the Chagos at the minute, we now have a handful of Chagossians on the islands that he is trying to forcibly remove while welcoming. I suggest by Easter, by spring, he will have brought in during his tenure more illegal migrants than we have in the British Army. Now try and balance that out. Why is he attacking people who have a sovereign right to their own territory and then looking at the boats?
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Well, delighted to be joined by the Chagossian lead at the Friends of the British Overseas Territories, Vanessa Kalu. Vanessa, thanks so much for being here in the studio. So these 4 Chagossians have landed. Are they still on the island? What's happened since that boat came out to see them?
The 4 Chagossians is still on the island. We need to remember that there's my father, Michel Mandarin. He's the indigenous of those islands, and he's been born, and generation under generation, his ancestor was born there, and he's has the human right to be there along with my brother, Mr. Mandarin, who are the descendant, the first generation of British citizen on this island and British Overseas Territory citizenship, and along with the 2 others who are descendant of Chagossians, and they have the full right, human right to be on that island as British Overseas Territory citizenship and British citizen.
And how do you feel? I mean, it's your brother and your dad we're talking about. How do you feel about the way they're being treated by the British government, their government? I'm
so appalling and I'm so upset with the government, how they behave with their own people, British citizens, and as we all know, that he's not listening to the British public here in the UK, and he's continue with his agenda. He has a 14 U-turn that need to stop. Our people need to stop this government in power. So we have now British citizens in British island that the government want to remove them. I will say thank you. I'm so grateful with everyone who support to donate to this cause to stop this injustice again from this government in power. And a big thank you for James Tunbridge, who really work day and night, and everyone who behind the support of the Chagos people, the Chagossians and all the British. It's clear to see that the British public is want their right to be respected. And that is the essential. This government, the people vote this government to be on power. He's not doing his job. He failed his job. He needs to go. Keir Starmer, you need to resign as soon as possible. let someone else do the job properly.
Now, a lot of people might not understand just how vast the British Indian Ocean territory is, what we call sort of collectively the Chagos Islands, that Diego Garcia, down at the south where the military base is, that's 120 miles away from the islands where your family has just landed. And yet the government has been saying you can't land on these islands, not necessarily due to the national security concerns, although that is part of it, but they say these islands are not fit for human habitation. What do you say to that?
This island has been habited from generation to my ancestor, and there was a time that there was no British governor to look how those people were living. They were living peacefully before they sent the workers. The indigenous people were living in peacefully, managed to have essential need by themselves until that a government started sending workers, and they've been clear to say the workers who come to Diego Garcia, Chagos Island, don't mix with the indigenous, but they didn't do a great job by make sure that don't happen. And then we know later on that in 1960, 1970, all of them was mixed together, workers and engineers. That's why that they create a misleading communication to send all the apparently workers, to send them to Mauritius to forcibly remove them. But the indigenous people is like my dad, and there's remaining people as well.
That is such an important distinction, because there were indigenous people living there happily, even on these outer islands that the government now says are uninhabitable. Your dad was born there.
Yes.
What kind of uninhabitable is that?
Exactly. He's 14 years old again when he's returned now. He's 72 years old.
Wow.
He's acting like he's 14 years old again. Just imagine, like I go to a place when I used to be like 16, and then I go back and I will started thinking like, oh, I'm 16 again, and all the memories is coming back.
Well, let's hope he can stay. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this situation.
Okay.
Well, a spokesperson from the Foreign Office has previously told GB News this.
We have always been clear that if a long-term deal was not reached, there was a risk of further litigation being brought rapidly, which could have had serious implications for base operations.
Instead, the government acted decisively to address threats to the base's operations, to protect national security interests and safeguard our shared defence capabilities. The agreement we reached will secure the future of the base, ensuring that it can continue to operate securely for generations to come.